Welcome, CEOs. I am Hermione Olivia, and I invite you to cherish every opportunity to connect the dots. CEO Yourself was created as a destination for motivation and to inspire you wherever you are on your journey to become the CEO of your life. Coming up on this week's episode of CEO Yourself.
Makeup is like putting something on, right? We're putting on an armor, we're putting on a persona, we're putting on a red lip or whatever we're putting on, and it's putting something on. Skincare is taking everything off and being incredibly vulnerable about who you are, the changes in your face, everything that you're experiencing.
Sunday Riley is the founder, CEO, and Chief Formulator behind her eponymous skincare brand, Sunday Riley. Since its launch in 2009, Sunday Riley is now the #1 independently female-owned skincare brand in America. On today's episode of CEO Yourself, we deep dive her CEO superpower, compartmentalisation. Sunday, welcome to CEO Yourself.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's such an honor to have you. I adore your products, but obviously we have the link being CEO. What's your love of CEO and why did you name the product?
Well, actually, for a very practical reason to start off with is that I love whimsical names because serious skincare can be really intimidating for some people. So you want to give it an approachable name that you feel comfortable picking up the bottle. So for that one, I was like, I want something that has like the concept of sea in it. And I always do my best thinking in the shower. So I bathe a lot. But I was just in the shower and I was like, what's the word with sea? Like see something, like see this, see that. It's like all I could think of was like Seatopia. And I was like, no, that's not even a word. But that's where I was going, was like these like non-inspirational words. And then I was like, something that conveys power, like, CEO. And then it was my, eureka. It's like, how about CEO? And then you kind of go on and you're like, surely that's been trademarked. And it wasn't. And then I could see it. Like, it was just, when something is right, like in your core, I could see the whole thing unfolding. And I thought, that's absolutely it. This idea of like, empowerment and, the transformative power of vitamin C as well, but just the idea of like, self-care and this empowerment of yourself. I could like I said, I could see the whole path unfold with it.
We're aligned with the belief in CEO.
Yes.
You are the ultimate CEO Yourself woman. You have this incredible global successful brand. You're a mother of 4, and I hear you're a mother to 9 pets.
9 pets, yes.
How do you do it all? This is the question we're constantly asked and that our listener wants to hear from women like you is, how do you juggle it all?
I don't know. No, I mean, some days I probably do it better than others. But first of all, I don't allow myself the luxury of being overwhelmed. So I just don't do it. I try to practice emotional discipline when it comes to something like that. So if I feel myself getting stressed out or I feel myself getting overwhelmed, I absolutely disconnect from it. It's a non-negotiable for me because people have expectations for me. A lot of people rely on me, and they rely on me to deliver. And that includes one of my cats, who wants me to like take care of her that day. That includes my kids. That includes people that I work with, and that includes people that we deliver products for. And there's not, I don't really have the luxury of saying today's just a really bad day, and I don't know how to balance all this. It's my job every single day to wake up and no matter what I'm going through personally, to deliver for every single person and animal. That's whatever. And I came to terms with that. And I accepted that instead of fighting it and feeling sorry for myself. Because at first I'd be like, this is so hard. Once I came to terms with it and said, this is what I signed up for. This is what I wanted. This is what I dreamed of. I didn't know it would have this other part of it. But once I accepted that, it became a lot easier to manage and to say, therefore, because I accept I have to be everything for everyone, I simply can't give everything at every single minute. So I don't try at every single minute to be a fully present mother and fully present for someone in the warehouse and fully present for my cat. I only mention this one cat because it's really high maintenance. So I'm like, she's very high maintenance.
It sounds like it's a favorite animal.
High maintenance cat. Yeah, I know. She's my baby. I love them all. But I know that I can't be 100% present at every single moment. So I practice compartmentalisation, and I say, like, for right now, from 12 to 1, I'm fully present for you. So wherever I'm at, I'm fully present. I simply don't think about my kids. I don't think about, what's going on. I don't think about something with the warehouse. I don't think about the news. I simply do not think about it. I'm 100% present where I am in that moment. When it switches, then I'm 100% present in something else. And honestly, I'm not thinking about that other thing. So if I've got worries, fears, concerns, I just don't allow it to creep in. And that gives me some sense of, and then you also, being a mom and like all these things, I get rid of all the things that I can't think about. So it's like, if I don't have time, to learn another language, I'm just going to cut that. Like I figure out what's like the non-negotiables that I just simply can't cut, and then I cut the rest.
This is such an incredible outlook. I imagine it took some time to train yourself to get there, and I imagine you had to get quite overwhelmed in order to learn how to manage overwhelm. How many years would you say it took you to get to that place that you're in now?
Well, I started in tough circumstances. I would say, like, I didn't start from a place of ease in life.
Okay.
So I think whenever you start from, a situation where, your parents don't always know how they're going to pay for things, and things are a little bit rocky, you kind of start off in survival mode a little bit. Though they're wonderful parents. They did a great job in saying, but you start off in survival mode a little bit. So I kind of already started off from a place of like, how are we going to figure all these things out in life? So then, I started working on myself pretty young too, because I was like, well, I'm probably going to have to be the person that rises up and fixes all of this. So if it's going to be me, how am I going to do all of that? So I was always, from the time I was really young, strategizing, like, how am I going to make everything okay? Not just for myself, but for everyone. How's it going to be okay?
So there's absolutely no victim mentality in you at all?
I don't have the luxury of it. Absolutely not. I can't, because I know what that path looks like. And I feel like every single day we have the ability to choose which version of ourselves we're going to be. And I know what that path would look like for me. And I just don't want to become that version of myself. By the way, I've been many terrible versions of myself. I want to be really clear. I would say, like, I will be very upfront. I've hit rock bottom many times. It's not like I haven't. Absolutely, I have. It's just then you got to just rise back up. And this compartmentalization has been something that's helped me, because I can think, okay, that's really bad, or I'm really scared of this. I constantly have fear. I'm constantly afraid. I just simply do it anyhow. I just don't think about it. I just think to myself, that scares the whatever out of me. And but I'm going to put that in a box, because I can't go down that road. I got to go down this road.
Compartmentalisation is, of course, your CEO superpower. Mm-hmm. How would you say you practically intertwine into your day?
So I definitely break my day up into a lot of different interesting segments for myself. So, and I allow myself to kind of shift things out. But like I said, in the morning when I wake up, that's like when I only allow myself to look at social media twice a day. So I compartmentalize it. I can look at it in the morning, and I can look at it before I go to bed. Otherwise, I have no interest in it. I'm not going to do it. In the morning when my kids are getting up and ready, I'm there. It's like, what do they need? What do they have? Did we get out of the house? Are we, I'm like, it's an amazing day. You're a beautiful soul. Now get dressed. I'm like, you're running late. You're going to be great. But, you're a star seed. Now move. It's like, but I make sure they're fine. But then the minute I sit down, and usually I give myself some time. Actually, I give myself about an hour every morning to do whatever I want to do. So if I'm always working on something. So like right now I'm working on writing a fantasy book. So I give myself 1 hour every day.
On top of everything else.
Yeah, 1 hour. That's my like my time to explore any of my other talents or desires. So I could do Duolingo. I could do whatever. I could write my story. I can do anything I want to do. I can do yoga. I can do whatever I want. That's my 1 hour, non-negotiable. And then I start. And like I said, I break my day up into segments. And if I ever start feeling like it's like not connecting, I might go for a walk or take a nap. But I try to stay in those, unique moments.
So it sounds like bravery was kind of ingrained in you from a young age, and that relentless desire to just succeed, mm-hmm. or to make it happen.
Yeah.
Was Sunday Riley the brand also ingrained in you? Because it sounds like it's almost a natural extension of who you are. Or was it that you decided you picked something and then you went for it?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, my dad chose my name, Sunday, because he thought it would be great for business. So
really?
Maybe,
yeah. It was written in the stars.
He thought it looked great, on a resume, it'd be great for business. When I was little, I didn't think, I'm going to have a skincare company. I had no idea. I thought maybe I'll be a doctor, or maybe I'll be a sci-fi writer, or maybe I'll be like, I had no idea, president. You think when you're little, you think of like astronaut, things like that. So I don't know if that was like necessarily, I thought, okay, I'm going to build this company. But I think the idea of like, I'm probably also a terrible rule follower, so I don't know if I ever could have really worked for a lot of people, to be honest with you. So maybe it was my natural skill set to be entrepreneurial.
What I love about your story is that you've kind of bucked the trend along the way, and it sounds like you've trusted your intuition. One example being that you launched at a premium price point because you were advised by Barney's to do so, and then you made a decision to cut the prices. How did you know that that was the right move when everyone was telling you not to do it?
They didn't just tell me not to do it. They said it would destroy the brand, and that would be, in that it had never been done in the history of beauty. That, because, you know, when Barney set the price point, and I do understand how and why they did it, I totally get it, but we're talking about $225 for a moisturizer, and then we're trying to grow and expand, and, you know, economy is always tough for $225, and it was just, we just couldn't sell, and I just felt in my gut anyhow that wasn't the right price point. And so they said, you know, but if you change it now, it will completely lose, you know, any authenticity, any whatever. And I thought, you know what, if that happens, if like today's the day that we die, if today's our, you know, Viking battle, this is the one we're going to go down, right? Then so be it. But if we don't do it, then we're going to die anyhow. We're just going to die slower. And I'd rather get my fate in one day than slowly over the course of like 9 months. So I thought, if today's the day, fine. But it's the only opportunity where we might win. So we might lose, but we might win. And by keeping it, we definitely won't win. We'll just die slower. So it's just prolonging it. So I was like, I would rather face complete collapse with the chance of winning than no chance of winning, but just putting something off because it feels safe. So it wasn't, once I kind of came to terms with that, which took like 5 seconds, I was like, because you might win. I mean, like, I want to win. So I just said, this is the right thing. And we did. And I felt like in my core it was the right thing.
Again, bravery. You took the risk, it paid off. How quickly did you know that it had paid off?
Oh, not quickly at all, because when you're
it's
only
still some
selling
time.
10 products a year, because you're making less now, because if you go, you know, moisturizer, it's now 65, that was at 225, you know, you're instantly making less. And instantly the retailer's saying, see, I told you. And instantly we had to also pay the retailer back because they had bought their stock and inventory at the higher price point. So we had to also reimburse them. So it was a painful gamble where we only like paid the consequences first.
Did they drop you? Did they keep you?
No one dropped us.
Amazing.
They didn't drop us. What I said was give us one season to prove ourselves, and if we're right. By the way, we didn't have a marketing budget, so it's not like I could then be like, and then there's 20 billboards that supported us. So I was just like, it's going to be word of mouth. It's going to take off. We're going to staff it. We're going to get people excited. They're going to try it. They're going to love it. They're going to recommend it. Just trust me. Go on the, you know, and it worked. Thank goodness.
I heard hiring extra staff was a big breakthrough moment for you.
Yeah.
Again, was that your intuition? How did you know that that was going to work?
I'm a big believer in staffing, particularly like in store. I'm a big believer in overstaffing in store because you need people to explain a product. It's really confusing when you walk into a beauty floor and there's 1,000 other brands, and a lot of those brands might be from like, you know, major conglomerates, right? Where there's, again, billboards, there's TV advertisement, there's familiarity. And so they're walking in, they're not familiar with this brand or maybe this product. So it needs to be explained to them. So I do fundamentally believe in that upfront investment of staffing. And if I hear one more, and I say this with love, I hope my team's not listening. If I hear one more salesperson say to me, but the P&L, I'm like, I don't care about the P&L. Like, I know, I get it, but I don't talk that language because I do know that each account has to have a P&L, but I'm like, if you don't staff it, it doesn't matter what your documents say. It doesn't matter what your Excel spreadsheet says. You're not going to make any money. So,
because I would say for the average customer like me, I go into these incredible stores and all the beauty products kind of look the same. Like, how do I differentiate it if someone doesn't explain it to me? It's quite simple, really.
1,000%. Like, if you can't sample it, if you can't try it, if you can't take home like a little sample of it, and someone isn't saying to you, let me explain to you how this works and why this works and why it's different, you're not going to convert. So it does take that kind of, I'm a big like one-to-one relator. I'm a really big believer in like that one-to-one, not just like one-to-many. So like the more you can touch people, because also the transformation that they experience is highly personal and on their own. Makeup is like putting something on, right? We're putting on an armor, we're putting on a persona, you know, we're putting on a red lip or whatever we're putting on. And it's putting something on. Skincare is taking everything off and being incredibly vulnerable about who you are, the changes in your face, everything that you're experiencing. So it needs that one-to-one relatability of someone to explain to you, like, I'm with you on your vulnerable moment. I know, what do you know? What do you see? What do you want to change? What do you want to support? And this is going to help you. So it's much more of a trust relationship.
It's also in such a nurturing kind of intimate moment in the day when you first wake.
Yeah.
and when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I always say that for me, it's such a luxury now that I have kids and, you know, the chaos of running a life with kids and business and so on. When you get home at night and everyone's in bed and you've had dinner, and that's when you have that moment, it is an intimate moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people become so loyal to their brands.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying to your team earlier, is that for those that use Sunday Riley, they are avidly obsessed, loyal customers. How do you think you've created that sense of commitment to the brand?
I don't know. What I can tell you that I do know is that we spend an unbelievable, inordinate amount of money on ingredients, because I really believe that I believe in ingredient integrity. And for a different podcast, we can go into into that. That's a different story. But, you know, if you talk about an ingredient like tetrahexyl ascorbate, which is a type of vitamin C that we use, or you talk about whatever, you can buy that at so many different purity levels and so many different price points. So you could buy it actually and pay a fortune, or you could pay middle, or you can pay it lower. From a label perspective, it looks the exact same. And the customer might even say, like, oh, I know that's the expensive form of vitamin C. And they see it and they think that's great, right? But then I can also tell you that purity level makes a huge difference. Antioxidant level makes a huge difference. So it's not, you know, it's not apples to apples. So I'm a big believer that we're going to, you know, buy the highest grade ingredient. We're going to buy the highest purity ingredient. We're going to put it in the percentage it needs to be in there and support it. And we'll spend less money on things like marketing the product, because it will be that kind of, people will see the change in their skin and they will become the billboard, right? They'll become the advertiser. They'll become the influencer. The customer will become the influencer that supports the brand. That's always been my theory and the thing I got behind. I think it creates a sense of loyalty, because if you say, like, hey, as the customer, you're going to see the change and you're going to become the advocate once you see the change, then that's a trusting relationship. It's like, okay, well, let me try it. And then they try and, like, I saw a huge change, and then they become the advocate. So it does create that sense of loyalty, because if you spend X amount, it could be nothing. But if you spend something on a product and it doesn't work or breaks or falls apart, or, you know, you lose that person forever. If they use it and they say, this was a great experience and I saw a change in my skin and I felt more confident in who I am, well, then that's it.
Nothing more powerful than word of mouth.
Yeah.
You're right. Is that the answer to the famous story of how you were stocked in Sephora but ranked 55 in brand sales? Within 6 months, you became the #1 skincare brand in that store without a marketing budget. Is that how you did it?
Yeah, so that story is a lot more dire than that, actually.
Tell us that story. I want to explore that story.
I would say it's a lot more dire. So we were in about 19 stores in Sephora, and struggling and making nothing, right? And we were trying everything, but we didn't, you know. And they came to us, they called me one day and they said, you know, we've got really bad news. And I said, you know, what is it? And they said, we're really embarrassed, but the mapping team, the people that decide where you're going to be in each store, because every season they rewrite the map, the floor map, they forgot about you guys, and they forgot to put you on the map. And we caught it at the last store, like we were able to stop it. So we were able to save one store for you. So that's good news. And I was like, okay, you know, I was like, that's okay. And, you know that you're really failing when you're so insignificant, like you're making so little money with a retailer that a mapping team forgets that the brand exists. That's how you know you're not winning at a retailer, right? That was my, like, aha moment of truth. So they said, you know, you're gonna keep this one location, and I said, and then what? Because it's very difficult to make enough money. I said, and then, you know, in 3 months we get back on the, and they said, well, we'll see, which I understood very clearly was no, this is your last stand. So I took my last, like, basically like $200, flew to San Francisco and begged them for a meeting. And this very senior woman, Priya Venkatesh, who's still there, who is really quite a mentor for me in my life. I don't know if she realizes it or not, but, like, her words of wisdom really stayed with me. She said to me, you know, this is an impossible scenario for you, and it's an impossible scenario for me. And basically, do you understand, like, you guys weren't making any money. You've been dropped to one. You do understand the direction it's going. And I said to her, I tell you what, I said, what do we rank? And she was like 55. And I said, with the one store, because it's like, you know, when you get to that moment of it's like live or die, I'm going to do everything I can to live. I'm going to do everything. I will never accept defeat. I will never accept it. I will not accept it. It's a non-acceptable. Now, if it happens, it happens, right? but I'm not going to will it to me and say, well, thank you for the opportunity. So instead I said, if we become number one in that store, will you give me 100 stores? And she said to me, first of all, you're not in a position to negotiate. She was like, you have nothing. Like, you're not in a negotiation position. And she was like, and it's absolutely not going to happen because the one store that we caught you in is the number one skincare store in America. So you are up against people that are, brands that are owned by, LVMH, Estee Lauder. It's impossible. It's impossible. It can't happen in 3 months. And I said, but if we do, will you give me 100 stores? And she said, I'll give you 50. And I said, all right. And she said, but you got to change. She was like, because if you keep doing things the way you're doing it right now, you're not going to become number one. And I said, do you have any advice on how to change it? She said, no. So I was like, great. Okay, great. So we hired someone who had worked at Sephora on the store floor. And she still works with us to this day. And I said to her, I want you to teach me and everyone here. And when I say everyone, I mean like all 5 of us. There was no one in the company. Everything there is, just give me a masterclass in Sephora. I want to live and breathe it. I want it to be like I've worked there for 20 years because you can't win at something if you don't know something. And I said, clearly I don't know it because if I knew it, I'd be number one. So clearly I don't know it. So tell me everything. I walk up, I go into the store. What happens to me? I work there. Why would I sell for another brand? Why would I do this? What is this? And she went through everything. Like, there's in-store sales contests. There's this. There's like education. There's videos. We went through the whole thing. And I thought, oh man, no wonder we've been losing. Like, no wonder. Like, I wasn't living and breathing it. I was living and breathing the product, but I wasn't living and breathing the retailer, and I wasn't living and breathing the customer. That's why I lost. And so I just said, we're going to change the way we operate. We're going to staff 100%. We're going to make every single person in that store love us. We are going to be the most charming people you can imagine. We are going to greet every customer with a smile. We are going to sample every customer we can because we couldn't afford a billboard, no social media, nothing like that. And we became number one in that store. And then we got our 50 stores. And then I got 50 stores another way too. That's a different story. There was a contest, so I won the contest too. So, but my point is, we got 100 stores, and which was my original thing. So not only did I get the 50, but I got another 50.
You got the 100 that you wanted.
I got the 100 that I wanted. 2 different ways because I always work a dual path.
You made the impossible possible.
Yes, like Alice in Wonderland. She said she does 6 impossible things before breakfast, and I tell myself that every day. By the way, I tell myself every day I do 6 impossible things before breakfast. Do I? I don't know. I mean, but I give myself the mantra. Because it makes the impossible. I always say it's not impossible, it's just improbable. And there's a big difference between impossible and improbable. And I fundamentally say, like, if it's improbable, I just have to put the odds in my favor. And the odds to put in your favor, most people don't do radical or unusual things. Most people don't. They don't want to embarrass themselves. They don't want to they don't want to waste money. They don't want to do all these things. They want to be very safe, particularly in a crisis. Whereas what I have found is in a crisis, you have to do something that's like completely out of the box and completely radical. And it just increases your odds of winning. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but increases your odds.
It's such an inspiring story. And has that issue actually served the business? Like over the course of the years, you now understand the retailer, you understand the customer, and I'm sure you've rolled out the same approach around the world, no?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to be upfront with you. The same problem always resurfaces, right? Because like customers change. And then it's like it's a new this and a new that, and you've got new competitors. And so you'll be this high rank, and then it will drop down. You got to grab it back, you got to claw it back, you got to whatever. So as the business grows, I think for me, it's one thing for me to succeed by myself in a room of 5 people and say, oh, I'm the CEO of this company, and it's one store, it's like, and 5 people in a room. It's another thing to say, okay, there's hundreds of people working here, and we're all over the world. And how do I take the way that I operate, this like highly entrepreneurial way, and achieve that through others, right? Because that may not be, you may have hired a bunch of people, but that's not the way that they think. And so you have to get everyone kind of in unison and say like, okay, but we've got to radically push forward. How do we think outside the box? How has the landscape changed? How do we change? I always go back to what she said, you've got to change. That was the first, you've got to change. And then always say, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. But it's not, I'm not the victim. I'm the problem. And if I'm the problem, then I take accountability. Then I am also the solution creator, which is really empowering. It's really empowering to say, I've got to change. Therefore, I also own the solution versus this is happening to me and I am powerless. And so, but every single day you're fighting for market share.
How have you learned to delegate over the years? Because you have gone from 5 to hundreds of employees, you have offices around the world, and I hear you're still incredibly involved. You know, you're on the line with the London team once a week. How have you managed to learn where your energy is best spent and where you need to let it go and let others thrive?
I'm super involved for sure. I mean, I work incredible hours, like until midnight all the time, but I love it. So like talking about like compartmentalization, I might be watching TV with someone, but I'm on my laptop, but I'm spending time with them on my laptop. But, you know, I think delegation is tricky. And I think everyone tells you to learn to delegate, but I will also, you know, raise the flag of warning about delegation because you can fail through delegation. So like I said, it's really easy to succeed on your own. It's very difficult to succeed through others, to know when you can delegate and kind of trust, but I would say trust but verify. You know, you can say, this is what we need to do. Let me see your strategy for it, and then verify that it's going correctly. If you just say, you know, you got this, and you let them run with it, and then you find out like the train crashed into a wall. Do you know what I mean? That can be really, so I also believe in what I call working forward, not working backwards. So I don't want someone to come to me and say, this is everything that we did last month. For me, that doesn't work. I need to know this is what we're going to do in the next month. Are you on the same page? This is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to check in with you at these points to let you know how it's going. And then I would say, like, at the end of the day now, I'm really just paid for my judgment, right? So I could say, not just judgment, I also formulate whatever, but it's like, I can say, hey, I hear I've seen that before. Let's do it like this. Like now that we've hit this obstacle, let's change here. So I let people, you know, drive their own train, so to speak. But I want to know from the beginning, where is it going? Don't tell me afterwards, like, oh, we did all these strategies and this is how it paid off or didn't.
Let's talk about you being the master formulator of the brand on top of everything else. Where do you find inspiration? How often do you bring out new products? I heard that you are also keen to pull products back if you don't believe in them anymore. Even if they're selling well, you'll just pull them off the shelf.
Yeah.
What is your approach to formulating?
So when it comes to getting inspired, sometimes it's by, you know, we have a lot of raw material suppliers, you know, reaching out and saying, oh, there's this new ingredient or there's, so sometimes it's something like that. But a lot of times, you know, we have a pretty curated line. So there's still a lot of room. We don't have a lot of masks. We don't have a lot of, you know, there's a lot of things for us that we can go into. So there's a lot of holes where I know that, you know, I want to make sure that the client has every product that they're looking for and they're not saying, well, I would buy this from you guys, but you know, I couldn't because you don't have it, right? So it's like, but at the same time, if you produce everything at once, then nothing's exciting and special. So we've been kind of, you know, careful in how we launch something. But I listen a lot to what people want. I feel like listening and learning is a really important skill set, not just showing and telling. So I don't just tell people what they want. I listen to what they want, try to create it. And if they don't like it, then I try and pull it out. Or if I think it could do better. So we used to have this eye cream that did okay. It was called Start Over. It did okay. I really liked it. But we never could like really hit like really, you just knew what there wasn't something. And people would say, no, it's a great eye cream. You'd be crazy to remove it. But I was like, I just feel like we could do so much better. Because if it was as great as you're telling me it is, then we'd be selling so much more. And so I was like, let's pull it. So we pulled it. Retailers thought I was crazy. I think team thought I was crazy. Advocates thought I was crazy. But then we launched Autocorrect, a brightening and depuffing eye cream. Same concept, but just we took Start Over and just made it like 3.0, not even 2.0, 3.0. And then that became this global bestseller for us. So sometimes, you know, listening to people saying like, I'm hearing what you're saying, pulling back, you know, just kind of reassessing and moving forward is the right thing to do and not putting your ego in it. Because if you create a product, it's very easy to say like, no, it's really good. It's just really good. You guys are crazy. It's
especially
really
if
good.
It's working for you.
Yeah. And it's really easy to say that, but you have to kind of put your ego down and say, you know, is this really as good as it could be? And if it's not, you pull it.
It sounds like you're incredibly in tune with your intuition. But from my understanding of speaking to all these incredible women on this podcast, getting in touch with your intuition actually takes massive effort and requires space. But you're so busy and you're juggling so much and you're traveling. How do you create space to check in with your intuition?
So, again, I can get on that for I can get that for a long time. Yeah, I'm like that's one of my favorite topics. But as far as like my core beliefs, so I really do a lot of like spiritual energetic work and have for maybe 25 years. So I do make time for things like my own daily practice, whether it's just like a walking meditation but I definitely make time for retreats. I've had a lot of different teachers in life and, followed a lot of different paths. But that is what I've always come down to is listening to what that core inner voice is saying, and also not practicing resistance. Sometimes if your core inner voice is saying, or like whatever you want, the voice of the universe, however you want to describe it, except it doesn't matter to me, but saying like this needs to be done, but your inner voice is resisting it, like, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I want to keep the product. I don't want to fire John because even that's like this, what you need to do. And just kind of like saying like, no, if I hear it, if I know it, if I practice non-resistance.
I need to act on it.
I try to practice non-resistance.
Mm-hmm.
It is a practice. Mm-hmm. But I try to practice non-resistance and say, all right, I'm going to do it, even if I don't want to, because it's the right thing. It's what I'm supposed to do. So I feel like that also helps me a lot with balancing things, like trying to listen to what that is and saying, what am I supposed to do? Not from guilt. What am I supposed to do from this like core voice that I feel like is there, is always present.
So talk us through, the listener,
Mm-hmm.
the ultimate skincare tips. Look at your skin. It's the most flawless skin I've ever seen in my life, unsurprisingly.
No.
You are the ultimate ambassador for your brand. But what are your tips and tricks, other than using your products, of course?
Obviously start with every product.
Yeah, exactly. Every single product.
I think it depends on your skin type. So like if you've got skin like I do, which is just chronically dry and just really prone to being like fine lines, crepey. I'm also really fair. So it's like I'm prone to hyperpigmentation, things like that. I always say never allow yourself to get dehydrated. Never allow the fine lines and the crepiness to set in. Like I try to, even in my hands, like that can definitely get super crepey. So I never allow myself to get dehydrated. I start off with that. So one of my, I make fun of myself for it, but actually I really love it, is that I always have my skincare on my bedside table. So I always have all my hydration stuff on my bedside table. And even in the middle of the night when I get up, because I wake up every night, like there's a noise, with 9 animals, 4 kids, and a creaky house, like I'm always waking up. But when I do wake up, the first thing I do is feel my face, feel my skin, like, is it dry? And if it's dry, I know I can't go back to sleep with it being dry. It doesn't matter how tired I am. I'll pull like CO Glow oil, or I'll pull Luna, or I'll pull something, or CO serum, and I'll put that on in the middle of the night so I'm hydrated, and then I can go back to sleep. So one of my number one things for me, and my skin type, but also like I just can't sleep with it feeling dry, because I think, well, it's just going to all derail from here. It's all going to derail because I want to wake up and I want to have glowy, dewy skin. So I'm a big believer in never letting my skin get dehydrated, which means that I actually carry in my purse or in my backpack or in my pocket, whatever it is, some form of moisturizer or oil at all times. And I absolutely reapply throughout the day. I think we often, when we think of skincare, we apply twice a day, and that's amazing, but your skin is living and breathing 24 hours a day, and twice a day your skin might need a little bit more maintenance than that. I'm not saying to like take everything off. I'm just saying pay attention to it. And again, if you have oily or acne prone skin, you might need to kind of watch that bacteria on your skin, or watch it more than just twice a day. We might need to go in and say like, hey, I'm going to take everything off and look at my skin 3-4 times a day. I'm not trying to advocate for like increasing our product usage. I'm just saying sometimes your skin needs just a little bit more love more frequently than you think it does. The other thing I'll say is this: if you want clinical results in your face and you want to see real, like this, whatever that might be, you could tell me whatever that might be, you have to use an active ingredient at the time points that it was kind of in the study. So you can't say like, I really want to see all this dramatic change from a retinoid, but I'm only going to use like half a pump once every other week, and then say, I'm going to see dramatic change. Actually, in those studies, they were using it every single day for 12 weeks to get those results. So you just have to really kind of pay attention to that. So when people say cycling, I'm always like, yeah, cycle all you want, but it does then delay that type of change that you want to see.
And for the person who's discovering the brand for the first time, where would you recommend that they start? Which product?
People usually start, I mean, it depends on who they are, but a lot of people start at Good Genes, to be honest with you, because it's one of those things where it's a lactic acid-based serum treatment, and you can see results right away. So I think when you see instant results, you're like, hey. You're like, hey, yeah. Whereas like with a retinoid, it's like in 12 weeks, trust me, you're gonna be great.
It's a big commitment.
It's a lot, yeah. And it's like going to the gym. You're like, I don't know. Whereas with Good Genes, it's like immediate. So you can say like, wow, my skin is instantly glowy, it's instantly dewy. But then the next day you wake up and you're like, okay, wait, this is totally different. And it's all skin types. So my daughter, who's got oily acne prone skin, uses it. I use it, and then my mother uses it. So it's like, and I always say like, I'm chronically dry. My daughter's oily. So we both, like for her, it gives her skin clarity. So no matter what your need is, because it removes the dead skin cells that would otherwise go in and clog the pores. So no matter what your skin type is, you see results really quickly.
And any wellness tips? obviously we hear we need to get your sleep and you need to drink a lot of water, but anything you've learned along the way in this skincare industry?
Well, I'm a wellness junkie. I'm like, how weird do you want to get? I'm like, I can go really far. Well, that's something I really prioritize. So in my life, so absolutely I prioritize sleep, but that's kind of a no-brainer. But I really do. So because I travel a lot, so like I can't get jet lag. So I do prioritize sleep, and I have my little tips and tricks for that. I know water's a no-brainer, but I actually also I do IV fluid every single week just to make sure that my fluid levels are great, even though I'm drinking water right now. But I make sure that I do that as well. I take NAD every single, like intravenously or by injection every week. I really watch that. Glutathione, I'm a big believer in. If you can get red light, I'm a big believer in that. But then the other thing is stress. So I just simply do not allow myself to feel stressed. And my life is actually very stressful. But I just don't allow myself to feel it. And that comes from a lot of work on things, just to say, like, you know, I think for me, I can feel stressed if I think short term. If I think in terms of like, you know, this is happening right now and this could be what happens tomorrow and this is really bad, or this is like really, you know, I'm really freaking out about this. If I think in short term, my stress can really rise, and then your cortisol rises, and then you make bad decisions, you make, you know, poor judgment. So I typically, when I feel stressed or coming on, I simply move the goalpost a lot longer and a lot further away. So I just say like, yeah, this is this, but I'm going to look at it from like a 3-year perspective. I'm going to look at it from a 3,000-year perspective, actually, which changes a lot. Like if you ever want perspective, just Google what happened 3,000 years ago and then think 3,000 years in the future, this is going to be fine. This moment will pass and it's going to be okay. But by watching my stress, changing the goalpost and things like that, it does help to balance me a lot. And then again, I do work a lot on meditation and having kind of like an energetic core.
You're such an inspiration.
I don't know about that.
No, truly, this has been one of my favorite episodes. I think everything you say is a takeaway that we can apply to our lives and do and be better, which is the whole purpose of this podcast.
Oh, well, that's amazing. I really thank you.
Do you have, we always close with the same question, which is, what is your legacy piece of advice? So this is the piece of advice that you'd want to be remembered by. Is there something you say to your kids or you live by that you can share with the listener?
Yeah. 2 things. One is like my mantra that I say to myself every day is just keep moving forward, which is not from me, it's from Walt Disney. But it's actually really helped me in times when I felt that like the world felt like it was caving in. It's just keep moving forward. Like you just got to keep moving forward. You can't stop. So keep moving forward might be like, I'm going to go for a walk, or it could be whatever, but you just got to keep moving forward. And the other one is, you know, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. So it's all in perspective. You know, I just try to remember like everything that seems big right now, it will pass. It'll pass. It'll be okay.
It passes quickly too.
It'll pass. You'd be surprised how quickly your terrible day becomes yesterday. Mm-hmm. You know, and it might be a different reality, but everything will pass. Keep moving forward.
Such beautiful inspiration. Thank you so much. Now, where can the listener find you and the brand?
Ooh, in the UK?
Well, everywhere.
Okay.
In every retailer.
Yeah. So globally, we're at Sephora, which is an amazing retailer. So in the UK, particular, we're at Space NK, Sephora. We're at, I don't know.
Selfridges.
I know. I'm like Selfridges, Harrods, all the beautiful things. Cult, we're there. US, we're also at Ulta or at Amazon. So it's like, yeah, you can kind of find us anywhere.
Amazing. And on Instagram at Sunday Riley.
Yes, at Sunday Riley. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and for your time.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time.